Welcome to For Flow with Chloe, where today I am bringing you a little winter release class. We have a full moon in the sign of Cancer on the 13th of January. So I'm just going to read a little bit about that moon. In fact, we'll start with reading about what a full moon symbolises. Rising in the sky opposite the sunset, the full moon emerges, fully illuminated to reveal her beauty. For all of human existence, the wonder we feel at the fullness of the moon has been palpable. The ritual of completion feels crucial. We are compelled to celebrate the blessings in our life and to cast out fear from shadows. Under the power of the full moon, we see the flowers and fruits of our labour revealed to us. We are empowered to stand up and be counted. When darkness is lit, there can no longer be hiding places for unresolved tension. The moon, in her wisdom, has a wish for us to be free from anxiety of holding on too tightly. Full moons allow us to celebrate who we are as we are for a moment of unapologetic truth. And now let's read a little bit about the moon in Cancer, this specific one. This is from the almanac, this year's almanac, by Leah Lean Dirtz. Leah Lean Dirtz. The full moon in Cancer, 13th of January, hibernate and dream. Just as we are being bombarded with urges to create resolutions, to self-improve and to find out about the new year, the new you, the wise moon arrives in the astrological sign of Cancer to stop our heads from spinning and call us home to ourselves. The cardinal sign initiates action, perfect for the first full moon of the year, yet gently does it. We're in our wintering season, our dream time, and the energy of Cancer fully supports this. Ruled by the moon herself, she is at home here. Cancer helps to bring us down from our head and into our body. She calls attention away from the outward expansion of how we see ourselves in the world and focuses on the heart. Cancer is all about feelings. Questions to ask ourselves at the dawn of 2025 are: what deeply nourishes us? How do I feed my soul? How do I feel as I step out into this new year? So it's a very nurturing, internalized, dreamy sign is Cancer. And like it said, the moon is at home in the sign of Cancer. So we're going to try and get at home in our own bodies by releasing some tension through some heart-opening poses and opening other areas of the body that tend to hold a lot of tension, like the hips and the lower back and the shoulders. So let's get on the mat and feel it out to release our winter tension. So we're going to come down onto the mat and start in a wide leg child's pose. So come to kneeling, separate the knees out, slide the palms down on the ground and place the forehead on the mat. You can come higher on the forearms here if this is a little bit much on the lower spine for you. First pose. You're just going to ground in here. Really connecting that third eye chakra to the mat. Allowing the weight to sink down into the hips. Deep breaths, just arriving on the mat. Relaxing and arriving. Allowing the weight to sink in. Lovely. And slide the palms towards you, closing the knees to about hip distance apart, coming up onto your hands and knees in a bit of a tabletop. Nice flat back here. Wrists below the shoulders, knees below the hips. And we're going to go into our cat-cows. So arching the spine and looking up in our cow. Nice inhalation. And exhaling, just rounding and pushing the ground away in our cat pose. We're going to flow through a few of these spine openers. Nice and gentle. Gripping the mat a little with the palms. Really pushing away and pulling those core muscles in your cat. Nice big exhalations in your cat pose. And nice big inhalations in your cow. Maybe you want to have a little sway, taking the weight just a little bit past the fingertips with those shoulders. Maybe you want to come around and do some circles and just feel it out. Feel into those spaces in the joints, in the muscles, in the muscle tissues. I want to come back and forth and just ripple a little. Just flow with your own movements here. Unwinding a little. Just freeing up some space. Connecting your mind to your body. Listening to your movements. Listening to your body in those movements. And doing some nice breathing. Just getting in sync and rhythm with your own energy. Lovely. And we're going to raise one arm up to the sky. I'm raising my right. I'm going to scoop it under the left arm, whichever arm you're on, and slowly bring your ear down to the mat. If you don't want to twist your neck here, then you can plant your forehead down to the mat instead, keeping that neck straight. Palm is flat, both palms flat to the ground. In your thread the needle. Option to stay here or tiptoe the fingers towards the end of the mat. Nice shoulder opener here. And if you want to extend the pose more, see if you can raise that arm up, the one we just tiptoed towards the edge of the mat, and bend the elbow and see if you can place it behind you on the lower spine or tuck it in to the thigh crease. Lovely. And unwind, bring that palm back down to the mat. Slide the other one out, coming back into your tabletop. I'm going to take that on the other side. So lifting the opposite arm up to the sky, nice and wide with that chest. And sliding, threading that arm under, thread the needle on the opposite side. Remembering any modifications you might want here with the neck. And any extras you might want to do to go a bit deeper in that stretch with the shoulders. Keep breathing. Beautiful pose to just undo any shoulder tension. Going deeper into that little bind if you want to. And when you're ready, unwind and slide the hands back to your tabletop. Beautiful. We're going to step forward with one foot. I'm stepping forward with my left foot into our lunge. Option here for some blocks, some yoga bricks. If you want to prop yourself up and give yourself a little more height and space. Taking a nice long stance between that front foot and the knee, so that the pelvis is sinking nice and low, really opening that hip flexor and the back of the hamstring on the opposite leg. Keeping that knee stacked over that ankle, under that ankle. Yeah, over that ankle. My cat is scratching on the door. You can stay on your blocks if you want to, and we're just going to slowly stretch back and point the toes up to the sky, straightening that hamstring. Nice flat spine here. In your half Hanumanasana, just opening and inviting that stretch in the hamstring. I'm just going to flow forward and back, forward and back, having a little dynamic play with that pose to warm up that hamstring and warm up that hip flexor. Lovely. If you bring your hand inside, you can also be on your bricks here again. And just shuffle that foot on the bent knee outward and turn it out at an angle. So we're rotating that foot out, toes pointing away from us. You can stay here, propped up, just opening that hip a little bit more. Or you can push the knee away from you and twist. As you do so, looking over the shoulder in your lizard. If you wanted to go a bit deeper here, you could kick that back foot up, making sure you've got that foot flexed. And if that's comfortable for you, you can grab that back foot and point the toes towards the sky. And maybe pull that leg towards you, really opening that quad and stretching the front of that thigh. Lovely. And we're going to step it back and switch legs and do it all on the other side. Making sure again that that knee is stacked over the ankle and just sinking. Just inviting the gravity to sink down into the pelvis. really opening that opposite hip flexor. Just taking some nice deep inhalations, really feeling into that stretch. We carry quite a lot of emotion in our hips often and hold a lot of stress in that area, as we often do in the shoulder. Just trying to release that tension out of that hip flexor. And we're going to pull back into that half Hanuman, pointing those toes up to the sky. Again, maybe want to give you like hamstring at the back, a little rub here as well. It's awfully cold where I am in the UK. It is -6 this morning when I woke up. My whole garden is frozen. It's like a white fog of white frost everywhere. I've made sure I've fed the birds because the ground's frozen solid. No food for them. Apart from my oats that I've sprinkled out there, which they seem to appreciate. And again, feeling into that stretch. Going nice and slow. And sinking forward, and we're going to go back into that dynamic motion of lunge, half Hanuman on the other side. Maybe just connecting to your breath a little here. Just a nice, slow mobility flow so far to open up those joints. It can be really hard to get going in winter on these cold, cold days. And we're going to walk that foot out, like on the other side, and come into our lizard on the opposite side. Really pushing up and grounding through that palm, pushing that knee open, and looking over that shoulder if you can and wish to. And again, see if you can kick that foot up, flexed. Just feeling into the back of that quad there. See if you can grab onto that foot and maybe just pull it, lever it in to open up the front of that thigh again. Lovely. And release. And we're going to slide that foot back. Just move those out of my way. And stack your hands below your shoulders again. And your knees and the backs of your feet just touching the mat. We're going to slowly sink down, bending the elbows, squeezing the side of the chest, and just lower our chin and our chest towards the mat in our Ashtanga Namaskar. Nice little dip in the spine there. I'm going to slide the chest through, come up onto the forearms into our Sphinx. Just a nice little gentle back bend. Breathing into it. Lower back, again, another place where we store our tension. And then lower the chest all the way down. Walk the hands out slightly to the side, bending those elbows, coming up onto the fingertips. You can also have your blocks on the lower setting here. And push up into your cobra, soft bend in the elbows. You can again be doing this on the fingertips. And just look over the shoulder. And sweep the chest down. And look up and over the opposite shoulder. Really squeezing those glutes, those buttocks, to protect the lower spine. Pointing those toes. Maybe you want to take your legs out a little wider, as wide as the mat. Play around with that leg positioning to find your optimum comfort level. As we just swoop the chest down, around, and up to look over opposite shoulders. Connecting to the breath here. Exhaling as you come down. Inhaling as you look over the shoulder. Beautiful. I'm going to push into the ground with our palms under the shoulders and push those hips back, coming back into that wide-kneed child's pose. See if you feel any difference in the body here from when you first started. Maybe the lower back feels a little more open, maybe the shoulders, maybe the hips. And bring the hands together, palms together in a prayer, keeping the elbows on the ground, and just pull the elbows up and see if you can take those palms behind the head. So curling the head down and bringing those palms to touch the back of the neck. Maybe you can pull back a little and get a nice stretch through those shoulders. Lovely. I'm going to walk the hands to the side. And get a nice lateral stretch at one side. I'm going to walk the hands back the opposite way. And try and sort of look underneath the opposite armpit. And feel a nice stretch up the other side body and into that armpit. Lovely. And you come back into our lunge. Remember, if you want to come up onto your blocks, I'm going to invite us to sweep the arms behind us and see how far you can reach behind your back. See if you can make a fist behind your back by clasping the hands together, or bending the elbows and trying to grasp each opposite elbow. Either way, we're aiming to sort of puff that chest forward and invite an opening. Maybe look up a little to really shine that heart forward. Fantastic. And now release the hands. I'm going to bend my right elbow and just take it across the lower spine, across the back of the hips. And I'm going to take my left arm up and bend it and reach back, and then I'm going to bend the other elbow and shuffle it around a bit and see if I can grasp the hands together. If you're not reaching, see if you can grab the fabric on the back of your body, or just place the hands where they come to, flat on your back, with the intention of reaching. Beautiful. I'm going to slide that foot back and come with the hands below the shoulders again. Shuffle the knees back a little bit further than below the hips and cross the ankles over. And we're going to lift those feet up towards the buttocks and push. Put a little bend in the elbow, really gripping the mat, and come into these little mini push-ups. Really engaging the core here. Starting to bring a little bit of heat. Inhaling as you pull back. Exhaling as you push the ground away. And cross the ankles the other way. See if you can keep going. Fabulous. And we're going to switch that lunge over to the opposite leg. Coming up. Swimming those hands behind. Remembering which clasp you want to puff that chest forward. Lovely. I'm going to do that arm clasp again where we reach behind. So reaching the opposite arm up and back as we reach behind for the hand to join. Maybe we'll have a little look from side to side here as well. Really breathing into that stretch. Fabulous. And unwind. And then slide that foot back. And roll through another Ashtanga Namaskar. So shifting the weight forward, clasping the chest, dipping the spine, lowering the chin and chest to the mat. Pushing through and up into your back bend of choice. Can be your Sphinx or your Cobra. And then pushing, lowering the hips over the heels, pushing up through those toes, planting those palms, trying to straighten those legs into your down dog and pedal, pedal, pedal it out. If you are not getting a flat back here and you're sort of rounding, then just put a little bend in the knees. And then tiptoe those feet forward. You can have your blocks here. Come into a nice flat back here. In your halfway lift. Take some breaths. Then shuffle your feet to a comfortable distance apart. And invite yourself to go lower into your deep forward fold. You can put your hands on your ankles if you can reach and hold. You can also have blocks below the hands here. Pull the chest towards the thighs if that feels good. Or maybe you want to have the hands touching the floor. Lovely. And come to rise. In your mountain, hands at heart center. And we're going to lift the right leg up off of the mat. And just rotate that ankle a little. If you need to come to a wall for balance to help you here, then you can do that. You can have hands on hips and just do a little rotation. Warm up those ankle joints. I'm going to see if you can grasp onto the knee and pull it outward. To keep your balance, really engage the core and the muscles of the standing leg, and focus on one unmoving point. And see if you can just move that knee in and out. If you're happy with your balance, you can cactus your arm out. So bend it out like this. And start to bring elbow to knee. Lovely. If you're against the wall, then don't worry about the cactus arm. Just use that arm to support while you guide the knee. And coming back when you're ready to your mountain pose. I'm going to take that on the other side, so bending the knee. You can also grab onto the knee and just hold it here if you would like to. Otherwise, coming into that cactus arm to knee, or just rotating that knee out, however is comfortable for you here. Exhaling as we pull together, and inhaling as we draw the knee away and apart. And don't forget to do some little ankle rolls on this side as well. Lovely. I'm going to put that foot down and just open out to the long edge of the mat with your cactus arms. Take the arms down. See if you can clasp the hands behind or do your opposite elbows again. I'm going to take those feet out about a leg and a half distance apart. Really plant the feet. I'm just going to hinge at the hips and start to fold forward into our wide leg deep forward fold. Inviting that head to hang. Maybe have a little sway if you'd like to here. Just really opening up the backs of those hamstrings. Lovely. And allow the hands to come down to the mat. Or maybe you want to be at your blocks here with a flat back in a sort of halfway lift version of this deep forward fold. Wide leg one. When you're ready, we're going to open one arm up to the sky. I'm opening out my right hand. So I've got a bit of a twist here and bring it down. And we do the same on the left side, on the opposite side, and bring it back down. So you can be using your blocks there. I recommend if you are using blocks after this to leave one on one side of the mat and one on the other, unless you're still using them. So you can do this if you can reach the mat by just switching hands, switching which hand supports you in the middle and opening the other one up. You should feel a nice stretch through that sort of groin area. Lovely. I'm going to raise up to standing, and if you are using blocks here, making sure you've got one on each end of the mat. I'm going to turn the toes out slightly and put the hands on the hips. And see if you can twist. So come up onto the ball, I'm on my right foot, coming up onto the ball of the right foot, and twist that knee to go in and down towards the mat. And then we're going to bend the opposite knee and see if you can bring that knee down to the mat. So we're doing this sort of rotation, planting the feet in between and pivoting onto the ball of the foot, allowing that knee to point down towards the mat as the other knee opens out. And we just switch, planting the feet in between and switching again that angle of the feet, dropping those knees down. Lovely. If you're confident here, maybe you can have your cactus arms and play a little bit more with the balance here. Just sort of opening those hips and giving those knees a little bit of rotation. Now opening the arms out wide, and we're going to face our right set of toes towards the short edge of the mat while leaving the left set facing the long edge. Arms out, parallel and level at shoulder height. And we're going to bend that knee and sink into it, making sure it's rotated out, and to look down that guiding arm in your warrior. Lovely. And when you're ready, we're going to tilt backwards, allow the back hand to rest on the upper thigh as the other one comes up. Maybe you can look up at the arm. Breathing, creating a little curve in that spine. I'm going to tilt back to center of that warrior and then tilting down. This is why I asked you to move a block to one edge of the mat if you're using blocks. We're going to bend into that knee. I'm going to sweep that arm up into a nice long line down the body. Maybe you can reach the ground here. Then we're going to straighten that leg out without locking the knee, and straighten the arm up to the sky. Maybe you can look at the arm, maybe you're on your block here the whole time. Find your level of comfort. If you're not using blocks but you're not reaching the ground, maybe you can just bring the back of the hand to wherever on that leg is comfortable for you. When you're ready, we're sweeping the arm down and round, walking the hands back to the front, toes follow, and round to the opposite side. Sink into that knee, come up, and find those warrior arms. Making sure that knee's turned out, engage that core. And we're sweeping back into our reverse warrior again. Back to our warrior two. And hinging at that hip, maybe finding that block. Back into your side angle. Arm comes straight. Long line up the body. Nice angle. Straighten that leg out. Arm reaches pointing straight up. Maybe you look up the arm in your triangle. Windmill the arm down and round again. And come back to this sort of halfway lift. Deep wide-legged position. And come all the way back up, hands on hips. Now we're going to rotate both sets of toes out so that we've got both toes facing outward towards the short edges of the mat. And we're going to sink, sink, sink those hips down, keeping that spine nice and straight, hips guided open in our goddess. Maybe you want to bring the arms up overhead, or in a cactus, or a prayer, yogi's choice. And push up powerfully back through those legs. Wonderful. Now maybe you want to shift your toes in a little, so they're straight again. Maybe you want to keep them at a little angle. Play around here, see what's comfortable. Maybe you want them straight, but we're going to start sinking the hips. So just play with those ankles and see how turned out they need to be. We're going to sink down into our yogi squat. So taking those knees apart and sinking as if we're coming into a goddess, but going lower, 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 with the hands at heart center until they push the knees apart. Maybe you're a little higher here, maybe you're a little lower here. Maybe you want to shove some blocks under the pelvis and then push the knees apart here. Playing around maybe with how high or low you need that block for a little bit of support below the tailbone here. You can also use a cushion, but just really pushing those elbows, pushing those knees really apart with the elbows. If you've got down, but you're hovering, maybe you could plop some blocks below the heels just to give you some support below those heels if you are in a sort of tiptoe yogi squat. Wherever you are, fabulous. And we're going to keep one leg bent in this position and straighten the other one out. You can have it planted to the side here, coming into a skandasana, or you can turn the toes up to the sky, coming a bit deeper, and go even deeper and raise an arm up to the sky if you would like. Switching it round. Maybe you would like a block here as well. I'm going to sink into the other side. You might want to prop yourself upon a block and raise the arm here, like so. Yogi's choice. Maybe you want to balance with hands at heart center. Maybe you want to open it out. Beautiful, bring that arm down. And we're going to rotate down and round straight into a bit of a lunge. Fabulous. And we're going to sink into those hips and see if you can raise the arms up and up to the sky and really invite that energy into the heart space and lower it back down. Beautiful. Push into the mat, tuck the toes under on the straightened leg and step that other leg back into your plank pose. Really, really squeezing those glutes together, pushing the ground away and engaging the core. Maybe you are in this form of plank here. But we're going to go on to one arm and swivel onto the side, stacking the feet on top of each other. You might want to be on a forearm on your side here instead, in your side plank forearm. If you are happy in your side plank here, bend a knee and step that foot behind onto the tiptoes or with the toes curled under and push up through that supporting arm and let the other arm dangle down, pushing those hips up in your wild thing. Bravo. Now looking down wherever you are, whether you're still holding a plank or you're in your wild thing, look down towards the mat and place that hand towards the mat, lift that leg up and swivel the hips back down and round into your plank. We're going to tilt it over onto the other side. In that side plank of choice, you can stay here in your plank or step those toes back, push up through that supporting arm, dangle the other behind, open the chest, push up through that foot to push the hips up. Look down at the mat, aiming that hand, lifting the foot, swivel down and round to the mat. Lower the knees, take them wide, come down into your child's pose again to rest. Take some deep breaths. Bring it all back down to the ground. Wonderful. Now slide the hands back towards you as you come up to kneeling. Swivel the feet from underneath you and bring the feet, the soles of the feet together to meet. Take the hands, grab hold of the feet, and flutter the knees up and down, up and down. Just releasing those hips a little further. Beautiful. Now we're going to come into a bit of a fire log, optional. You can stay here, fluttering away, or join me in swaying the hips and knees from side to side, so planting those palms down by the hips and just swaying the knees from side to side, further opening those hips. Lovely. You might want to grab a bolster or some cushions, maybe a brick. I've got a bolster here. So you might want a cushion bolster to prop yourself up a little bit for this pose. I'm going to guide one foot. I'm going to swivel around to show you this. You can stay as you are. So bending one knee and bringing the foot towards the pelvis, and then further along towards, line up with the opposite buttock. And then taking the other foot and propping it on top of that knee. If you find you've got this leg is quite high up, you can pop a brick under it, like so. You could maybe be sat on a yoga brick here as well. Or you could pop a softer cushion here and flex both sets of toes out. We're trying to make this sort of square shape with our legs. And just bring some cushioning here. And you may find some comfort in this pose here. Maybe this is super easy for you and you can just bring one foot in, aligned with that opposite buttock, the heel is, and then stick the other foot stacked on top of the knees. So the knees and feet are stacked upon one another. And place one hand down to the ground and push down on the other knee if you want to go deeper in your fire log or square pose. Taking some breaths. Beautiful. Maybe you want to swish a hand over to that knee, take one behind and do a bit of a twist here. Beautiful. Really breathing in, deep inhalations, releasing any tension from those hips, and let it go. And we're going to switch it over. So guiding in the same way on the other side, remembering any props or support you might need to find your pose and your comfort within it. You should always be able to find a sweet spot of comfort in all of these poses. We're going beyond that, back out or make an adjustment. Lovely. Maybe you want to do a bit of a twist again here. And come back to center. Move any props off to the side, unwind from that, and come back to the short edge of the mat, stepping that left foot forward, and sweep the arms back up into the Anjanasana on the opposite side. This time we're going to take the arms back and behind and puff the chest out as well. Remembering any modifications you might need with those arms. Lovely. And we're going to swivel, pivot on the knee and stick one leg out straight. And reach the arm up up to the sky in our gate pose. Lovely. I'm going to rotate round and sink into a half Hanumanasana. And come back up. Bend the opposite knee. Straighten the opposite leg. Sweep up into your gate pose, maybe looking up that arm. Sweep down, back round, and fold into your half Hanumanasana. Only going as low as is comfortable for you. Fabulous. I'm just going to slide that foot back. Come to sit on the knees, maybe sit on the toes a little. Stretch those toes out for a moment, if that's comfortable for you. Release any tension from those feet. We hold a lot of tension in our toes, surprisingly. The feet hold quite a bit of stress, and they do a lot to support us and ground us. Lovely. I'm going to sit on our bottom with bent knees and take your right leg out in front of you in that sort of square leg position that we had earlier in our fire log, and let the opposite leg come behind and angle that out again, both feet flexed in your deer pose. Lovely. You may again want to shove cushions below knees, bolsters below hips to support any areas where you feel you need some. See if your pelvis doesn't come all the way down to the mat, you might want to prop yourself up. If that knee isn't coming down, you might want to prop that knee up. Find your comfort here. Lovely. And when you're ready, try and slide that back leg back as you pull the other foot in towards the opposite hip crease. Taking a deeper bend on that knee and then straightening the other leg out behind you. Again, you might be upon blocks or cushions here in your more supported pigeon. Just breathing here, rounding in, shuffling around until you find that comfort. If you're really happy here, see if you can pull that back foot in towards the glute, or even just kick it up and see if you can reach behind and pick it up. If you can do this, see if you can guide it in, making sure you're supporting yourself up with the other hand. See if you can bring it in to the forearm crease, elbow crease. There we go. So many body parts, so confusing. And then see if you can take that hand away and join the hands in your mermaid pose. Maybe you want to twist round and face this way. Maybe you can go deeper and look forward. And when you're ready, release. And we're going to fold forward, deeper into that pigeon pose. Maybe crossing the forearms, making a little resting pad for our forehead. Maybe shuffle that foot around and see if you can go any deeper into that pigeon. Remembering any props you might need. You could have your head stacked on a block as well, or a cushion. Breathing into the pose and letting the tension out. You could as well fold forward in your deer pose here if this pigeon is not comfortable for you. So with your more angled back leg, like so. Lovely. And when you're ready, we're going to slide both knees back and lower the hips down and come back to that child pose. Lovely. And then swivel, bend that back, bend that knee, and flex the foot. Bend the opposite knee, flex the foot. One leg in front, one leg behind, finding that deer pose again. You might want to stay with these deer legs instead of take pigeons. When you're ready, pulling that foot further towards the hip crease, scooching that back leg out, remembering if you want any props, any cushions, really flexing that foot on the bent knee and pointing that other foot right back behind you to make this nice long line in your pigeon. And again, those of you that want to go in for that mermaid, prop yourself up with the opposite arm and reach back. That leg, maybe have a little guide of it back and forth before you fully come in. Find the elbow crease, point the fingers up to the sky, raise the other arm up and join the hands. Maybe you want to look to the side this way, maybe you want to try and look forward. Beautiful. Or of course you can remain in pigeon or deer and skip any mermaids. When you're ready, we're going to fold forward deeper into that pigeon pose. Remembering any props or modifications you want to take. Remembering you can stay with deer legs. And just breathing. Maybe have a little shuffle around. See if you can go any deeper. Fabulous. And when you're ready, come back out. Bring both knees round, facing them up to the sky. Have a little hug of the legs. Make a little ball. And then straighten our legs out in front. You might again want a cushion under the knees to make this more comfortable for you. You can stay here propped up like so in your staff pose, or you can take the arms up and fold forward, going deeper, as deep as is comfortable without straining, trying to guide through the head, pulling that spine nice and straight. Try not to hunch in the back. Maybe you can reach your shins, your knees, play around with where's comfortable for you without pinching in that lower spine or hunching. And then just breathe and relax into it. Keep the toes flexed towards the sky, however. Lovely, and slide back to a seat. Bend the knees, slide the hips forward and slowly come down onto your back. Cushions to prop up any areas of the body, maybe one under the head. Maybe you want to take the knees out and the soles of the feet to meet and lie with your butterfly legs. Maybe you'd like some cushions below those knees for some support there. Wherever you are, getting yourself comfortable. And just letting gravity melt you back down. Bring the knees back together and towards the chest. And allow the knees to sink to the side. You might want a brick below the knees to support them, or a cushion. Or maybe they come all the way down. Invitation to grab onto those knees and take the opposite arm out to the side. Maybe you want to gaze down that opposite arm as well in your spinal twist. Maybe you want to lose the cushion. Lovely. And when you're ready, bring the knees back to centre and switch them over, finding any props or modifications you might want. Nice supine twist on the other side. Lovely. And bring those knees back to centre and come into your corpse pose. Maybe you want to take the cushion again. Straighten the legs out. Maybe you want to come back to those butterfly legs. And I invite you to stay. Maybe you want a blanket to throw over you to stay warm for a few minutes. Or you just relax into your final resting pose in your Shavavasana. I hope you have enjoyed the class today and that it has released any tension and helped you go deeper into your body. And relax into your soul. Maybe you want to take a hand to heart center or one to the abdomen. And just feel the rising and falling of the breath, the chest and the stomach. Maybe feel the heartbeat. And really opened the heart today and opened the hips today. Really trying to drop into that self-compassion, that Cancerian energy of nurture. I invite you to stay here, where you can slowly bend the knees and roll on to the side. I'd like to thank you for joining me today in this full moon in Cancer winter release flow. Thank you for watching for Flow with Chloe. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe or comment. Thank you. Bye.